10 Sinister Haunted House Stories Revealed. Disturbing true accounts of unexplained terror await. The sun had barely dipped below the horizon when Sarah's peaceful suburban home began to change. Laughter echoed from her 2 children as they raced through the yard, oblivious to the creeping dread that had infiltrated her mind. It started as whispers that seemed to curl around her, mingling with the rustle of leaves at night, soft, chilling, almost teasing. Sarah shook it off, determined to create the haunted house of her dreams. Little did she know, her excitement would awaken something malignant deep beneath their perfect neighborhood. The night of the haunt approached rapidly, and the shadows sneered. Delighted, Sarah unboxed cobwebs and ghoulish decorations, her heart racing with anticipation. But at night, those whispers grew louder. Mommy, they seemed to call her name, pinning her to the edge of too much caffeine and too many late-night ideas. Dark shapes flitted near the tree line in the backyard, emerging as the neighborhood morphed from idyllic to sinister. She was a mother, a guardian, but who was there to guard her? When she sought advice from Mrs. Harris, her elderly neighbor, the old woman trembled as she spoke. "You don't know what you're inviting. People vanished here," she whispered, the panic diluting her frail voice. Sarah's heart dropped. Her curiosity vied with a growing sense of terror. Digging into the history of her community revealed chilling newspaper clippings of lost children, whose names had faded long ago, but whose spirits, it seemed, were still very much alive. At the local police station, dread clung to Sarah as officers exchanged weary glances. "Just the excitement of Halloween, ma'am," they chuckled. Their dismissiveness wrapped around her like chains, and fear tinged the edges of her reality. How could she protect her children when no one would believe her? As Halloween arrived, eager ghosts of the past seemed to seep into her carefully crafted haunted house. Frantic screams replaced the laughter, flickering lights danced madly, and shadows flared alive. One child collapsed in the yard, screaming about a voice in the dark. Sarah's stomach churned, and her heartbeat thundered in her ears. Panic swept the crowd, faces turned to masks of terror. "What is happening?" she gasped, her eyes darting from one frightened group to another. Just then, her blood froze. Amidst the rushing chaos, a familiar voice echoed, haunting and sweet. "Mommy, come find me." The voice was one she hadn't heard in years, one of the missing children, calling from the depths of her haunted creation. Was it a cruel trick? A consequence of her festive ambition? Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Terror washed over her, an aching urgency. She frantically searched the crowds, faces blurring, swirling around her in a frantic haze. What did it mean? What had she awakened? As shadows gathered at the edge of her vision, Sarah felt the darkness pulling at her heart. She had to act fast. Something unspeakable had been released, something that came alive in the night, hidden in the bustling chaos of Halloween. Would she be able to rescue her children from the grip of an evil that had long slumbered, or would their laughter fall silent forever? Screams layered on top of one another, melding into a cacophony of panic. Sarah's pulse quickened, each beat echoing with the urgency of a desperate mother. She pushed her way through the throng, heart pounding. "Where are you?" she called, voice cracking, laced with fear. The crowd surged as parents clutched their kids, wide-eyed. In the din, colors clashed. Amber oranges and ghastly blacks mingled, creating a confusion that mirrored her turmoil. And there it was again, the whisper, a haunting clarity cutting through the chaos. "Mommy, come find me." It threaded through the air like a knife. Shadows danced across the yard, stretching and curling like fingers reaching for her. A sickening chill snaked down her spine. She glanced at the ghostly figures of her decorations, the once cheerful Halloween spooks now resembling grim silhouettes in her mind. Had she unknowingly sparked the interest of the spirits said to haunt her neighborhood? "Mom!" a voice cried. Her youngest, Lily, stood frozen near the haunted house entrance, eyes wide, hair blown by an unseeable wind. Relief and terror clashed in Sarah's chest. "Mommy! I see her!" "Who, Lily? Who do you see?" Rushing toward her child felt like wading through treacle. The shadows shifted, looming in closer as though listening. "I think it's her. The girl from the stories." Lily's small finger pointed to the entrance. A figure flickered just inside the darkness, a spectral form that sent tendrils of terror curling around Sarah's heart. It looked like one of the missing children, hair tangled, eyes wide with longing, and mouth agape in a silent scream. Every instinct screamed for her to turn and flee. "No! Stay with me, Lily!" She lunged forward, but her daughter remained rooted, caught between fear and fascination. "Mommy, she wants you to come." The whispered words held both trepidation and an allure, as though the very air hovered thick with past secrets and long-lost desires. A cold sweat broke out across Sarah's forehead. Had she truly invited something otherworldly? She stepped closer, her feet moving against her better judgment. The crowd seemed to shrink, the laughter fading until it was only her and the flickering girl, a bridge to a realm she had foolishly disturbed. "Please come back," Sarah begged, uncertainty wrapping around her words, like vines tightening with each heartbeat. Lily's gaze bounced between the figure and her mom, caught in an unspeakable conflict. "Mommy," she sounded sad. The specter swayed like a candle flickering in the draft of a closing door. As Sarah's hand reached toward her daughter, shadows reached back from the other side, pulling at the seams of reality. Each second stretched like a horror movie scene. But before she could grasp Lily's tiny hand, shapes began to materialize around the haunted house. Children faces she didn't recognize yet felt bone-deep familiarity with. "Help us," they whispered, a chilling mantra echoing through the cool October air, swelling into a ghostly choir. The joyous chaos of Halloween plastered with a thick layer of dread thickened the air. Every parent held their breath, some turned to flee, others stood paralyzed. And yet, Sarah's primal instinct burned brighter than any fear. "I will save you," she shouted to the shadows, though the words felt like a hollow echo. The wind howled, the shadows drew closer. "Mommy, we have to go," Lily cried, her voice shrill as panic surged anew. But before Sarah could react, the figure inside the haunted house beckoned, ghostly fingers curling toward her. "Come find us," the girl hissed again, her voice sharp as ice. The other children lingered, their faces twisted in agony and yearning. "Stop!" Sarah screamed, the sound ripping from her throat. Heat pooled in her chest, rage battling the horror. She would not lose her daughter. But what if it wasn't just Lily anymore? What if the shadows were already reaching for her, pulling at her heartstrings, drawing her in? As a haunting laugh reverberated around them, she turned, horror flooding her senses. What had come alive? What awaited her if she stepped into the darkness? And somewhere deep in her mind, the chilling thought took root. What if, in saving her children, she unwittingly became a part of the haunting herself? "Lily, come here." Sarah's voice cracked under the weight of urgency, desperation clawing at her throat. She lunged again, but the crowd had thickened as if in response to her command. The laughter of children melted into eerie giggles. Shadows twitched like rats scurrying away from the light. Every second stretched, blurring reality. "Mommy!" Lily's voice trembled, a sliver of fear seeping through her innocent plea. The air thickened, pressing against Sarah's chest. She could feel the presence around them, not just of the children lost but a deeper, darker hunger waiting patiently in the shadows. The figure at the haunted house flickered again. Its mouth moved, but no sound rushed forth. It beckoned, the gesture both inviting and dangerous. Sarah's heart thundered. A primal instinct screamed for her to flee. But she had to protect Lily. She had to keep her from whatever darkness lurked beyond. As she stepped closer, the ground beneath her shifted. The grass felt too soft, almost like a hand reaching up to pull her in. Her stomach twisted, but she fought the sickness rising within her. Lily. I'm coming. The words became a mantra, repeated against the shadowed pull of fear. But then she paused. For every step she took toward the haunted house, the whispers grew louder, wrapping around her like ropes. Join us. Stay with us, they sang, a haunting lullaby laced with despair. Mommy, don't go. Lily screamed, finally turning away from the mesmerizing phantom. Her small eyes welled with tears, wide and frightened. The wind picked up, swirling leaves in a frenzied dance, carrying with it an unsettling whisper that wove through the crowd. Parents pulled their children close, eyes darting around, recognizing a danger they couldn't see. Please, listen to her. Sarah shouted, a wild wave of panic surging through her. She wanted to tear Lily away from the darkness, but the tug of the spectral figure gripped her. It was as if the very fabric of the night had come alive, binding them all in a sinister web. Then sudden silence. The laughter of children receded to a dead hush, the world around them pausing as if holding its breath. All that remained was the flickering girl, daring Sarah to step deeper into that haunted abyss. I can't leave you, Lily, she cried again, the words raw with fear. But her feet felt heavy, weighted by unseen forces. The light from the street lamps flickered ominously, casting long shadows that reached almost hungrily toward them. In a panic, Sarah's gaze met the hollow stares of the other children, their faces a mirror of what could be eternal longing trapped within the haunted folds of time. What do you want? She demanded, voice turning into a desperate whisper. What do you want from us? Mommy! Lily screamed again, now struggling against the pull of the shadows enveloping her mother. Don't listen. It's a trick. A final surge of clarity hit like a bolt of lightning. I want to let you take her. Sarah yelled into the darkness, determination blending with fear. I will fight for her. And just as she turned to shield Lily, the air shifted, thickening and pulsating with an energy that felt alive and sinister. All at once, the children's voices rose into a torrent, echoing within Sarah's skull like shattered glass. Help us! The ground trembled, and with it came a wave of icy energy that knocked Sarah off her feet. Panic transformed her terror into action. She grabbed Lily's hand tight, squeezing it as if it could anchor them to reality. They had to escape. The shadows loomed larger, malicious shapes clawing at the edges of her vision. What awaits us? She shouted over the rising chaos as they turned toward the only exit, the darkness now pulsating, waiting. But as they stumbled back, Lily turned back one last time, eyes wide with fear. Mommy, she is not letting us go. A dark laughter echoed back, hungry and insatiable, promising they would not escape so easily. What lay in that darkness, and would they ever truly be free? Their feet pounded against the ground, urgency driving them deeper into the crowd. But the whispers rose, masking the frantic murmur of terrified parents. Sarah's grip on Lily's hand tightened until her knuckles turned white. We have to keep moving, she urged, heart racing. The laughter of children had twisted again, morphing into something more sinister, creeping through the air like smoke. The shadows darted around them, and Sarah felt the bite of cold seep into her bones. With each step, the haunted house loomed larger behind them, its gaping entrance like a mouth slowly closing, threatening to consume anything that entered. Mommy, it's getting darker, Lily cried, her voice trembling, desperation mingling with the ghostly laughter. Sarah glanced back, catching sight of the flickering figure, now swaying as if it were dancing to a macabre tune. Its face was obscured, but the emptiness of its gaze felt like a violation, an invitation into madness. Just as they reached the exit of the fairgrounds, a sudden chill swept over them. An unnatural gust of wind pushed against Sarah, forcing her to halt. The children's laughter was replaced by something far more chilling, a low, raspy chant that echoed in the depths of her mind. "Stay, join us." "No," she screamed. "Not my daughter." Her voice quaked with fierce determination, but the shadows laughed, an echoing chorus that seemed to swirl around them, closing in. "Look," Lily whispered, pointing toward the trees that bordered the fairgrounds. Among the gnarled branches, flickering figures emerged, children dressed in ragged costumes. Their eyes shone with a haunting glow, beckoning, pleading yet twisted with despair. They danced as if trapped between realities, bodies moving in a mockery of joy. Fear coiled tight in Sarah's gut. "Mommy, I'm scared." "Me too, sweetheart," Sarah choked out, forcing a smile she didn't feel. "But we'll get home. I promise." But her words felt empty against the rising terror. The ground shifted again, and she swayed sideways, dread pooling like acid in her stomach. Then, in a shocking moment of clarity, she broke free of the paralysis gripping her. She yanked Lily close, tearing her focus away from the horrors roiling behind them. "Run, Lily. We have to run." They bolted through the entrance, adrenaline coursing through her veins. But the air outside felt almost stifling, thickened by something they couldn't see, something that held its breath, lurking just out of sight. The fairgrounds were eerily quiet. Parents were now frantic, crying out for their children, but only echoing silence greeted them. Panic surged through Sarah. Where were the others? Had they too been consumed? Lily clutched her mother's hand tighter, her small body shaking as Sarah turned back towards the haunted house. The flickering lights dimmed, and shadows pulled around the entrance like ink spilling across the ground. A deep, throaty laugh erupted from within, reverberating through the night. "Let them go." It was a voice split with malice, the words stretching out, teasing them. "Join us or lose them forever, Mommy. We can't let them take us." Lily whimpered, her grip loosening slightly. Sarah's heart sank. She could feel the encroaching darkness creeping back, reaching for her child. "No, we want tea," she roared. "I will not let you have her." And in that moment, a memory surged, an elderly woman's warning, whispered in the darkest corner of the town. "The night knows your fears, child. It will take what you love most." Panic flared within her as the shadows surged forward, a wave of despair threatening to swallow them whole. "Run!" Sarah cried, their legs pumping furiously, racing towards the distant lights of the road. But behind them, the laughter grew louder, more urgent, and then a figure emerged from the depths of the shadows, a woman, her face obscured, smiling an impossible smile. "Your fate is written in the darkness. Come back to us." The darkness that surrounded them pulsed, alive and breathing, as if it had formed a heartbeat of its own. "Mommy!" Lily screamed, tearful and terrified. Sarah's heart pounded louder than the chaos surrounding them. In the distance, headlights flickered, a fleeting beacon of safety. But the question echoed, gnawing at her sanity. Would they reach the light before the darkness consumed everything? As they raced forward, uncertainty loomed, and behind them, the shadowy figure whispered sweetly, "You can't escape what you really are, what you've already lost." What was waiting for them at the edge of that light? Would they find salvation or something far worse? They sprinted, each step driven by primal fear, Sarah's breath burning in her chest. The night was a living entity, reaching out with tendrils of darkness. Everything around them grew muted, the world receding into an abyss filled only with the echo of that haunting laughter and the flickers of unnatural light behind them. "Faster, Lily," Sarah urged, her heart hammering as shadows lashed at their heels. She dared not look back at what pursued them, yet each time the gust of cold wind whipped past her, she sensed the shadow's presence, its icy fingers stroking her spine. They darted towards a dimly lit road, an empty stretch that promised safety, but felt painfully far away. The headlights flickered above her like distant stars, and yet, every time she glanced back, the haunted house stood intact, its mouth gaping wide, inviting them to return. A flicker of hope battled with a dread curling in her gut. "Mommy, I see something," Lily gasped, pointing ahead. Her little finger quivered, directing Sarah's attention to an alley that branched off the road. A figure stood at the entrance, cloaked in shadows. An overwhelming urge to run down that path pulled at Sarah, but a sickening twist in her stomach told her to avoid whatever darkness loomed within. "Stay close," she instructed, almost dizzy with fear and uncertainty. They were running out of time. Shadows were closing in from behind, flickering in and out of sight. As they stumbled into the road's beggarly light, Sarah heard the voice again, sultry and sinister, wrapping around her mind. "Don't run from us, we only want to play." It was as if the very air spoke, dripping with malevolence. "Mommy, please!" Lily cried, forcing Sarah to look back. A part of Sarah wanted to reassure her. "It's just shadows, sweetheart." But deep inside, she knew better. Instinctively, she shoved them both toward the light, urging Lily to press on despite the encroaching terrors. "Look ahead, Lily. We can't stop." But darkness shifted again, revealing shadowy forms slipping into the only warmth they clung to. Lily screamed a shriek that stabbed through the night like a knife. "The kids! They want me!" Just ahead, a group of twisted figures emerged, children with vacant eyes and cracked smiles, their faces stretched in an eerie semblance of joy. Sarah recoiled, recognizing their clothes, remnants from the costumes they wore only hours before. "No!" she yelled, pulling Lily closer, pulling her back against her body, as if she could shield her from the grasping hands that beckoned with chilling familiarity. In that moment of despair, a dread realization washed over her. The other children had been consumed, their souls drawn into that insatiable darkness. "They're not alive," Sarah murmured, feeling the ground tremble beneath them, as if it too had a heartbeat. "Mommy, I don't want to join them." Lily sobbed, tears streaming down her cheeks, her voice cracking under the weight of terror. "Neither do I," Sarah shot back, desperation igniting her resolve. "We're escaping this. We'll find a way." But it was then that the world stilled, the distant laughter falling away, leaving an unsettling quiet. The figures surrounded them, blocking their path to the safety of the road. "Let us help you," one of the children crooned, an unsettling smile stretching across its face. "You'll feel better if you just let go. This isn't real." "It can't be real," Sarah gasped, her eyes darting for an escape. A deep, resonating laugh echoed around them, and the shadows surged, collapsing upon them. The figures danced closer, their movements hypnotic and nightmarish, a macabre waltz in the darkness. Sarah and Lily stood frozen, hearts beating wildly, as the air thickened with tension. Join us at LLB Fun Forever. In that stark moment of crisis, Sarah felt the encroaching evil pressing against her body, merging with her fears. But as the bitter chill wrapped tighter, she recalled the very essence of her love of blazing light amidst the dark. "Lily, we must trust each other," Sarah shouted, bracing for the worst. And then the flickering lights of the road dimmed, and the shadows hungered. As the darkness lunged, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that something far worse than death was staring back at them through hollow eyes. What would it truly mean to join them, and what was still hidden beneath the surface of their desperate escape? Would they fight or succumb? The answer loomed as ominously as the shadows themselves. The dark pressed it around them, a living, writhing thing that pulsed with malice and Sarah felt it suffocating her spirit. "Lily, listen to me," she shouted, gripping her daughter's shoulders with fierce intensity. "We can't let them take us. You have to hold on to me." But Lily, whose eyes flickered with terror, seemed to be losing her grip. The shadows pulsed and writhed, stretching out limbs, beckoning like 1,000 voices whispering secrets too dark to fathom. The figures began to close in, their laughter ringing in dissonant harmony, and Sarah felt the chill of their presence settle like frost on her skin. "Mommy, I want to go home," Lily whimpered, her small voice nearly drowned in the growing cacophony. "No!" Sarah snapped, a surge of anger igniting within her. "We will not go home like this." She swept her arm out, longing for something, anything to break through the swirling darkness. In that moment, instinct took over. She turned and sprinted toward the alley, the very source of dread that moments ago filled her with trepidation. "Mommy, no!" Lily cried, but the desperation in Sarah's chest propelled her forward. She could almost hear the sinister forces snarling at her back, feeling the sharp claws of the abyss trying to tear her down. The alley was a narrow corridor, walls damp and slick with the residue of ages. It felt as if the very bricks were alive, breathing in unison with her rapid heartbeat. As they plunged down the passageway, the laughter faded, morphing into a low hum that vibrated ominously through the air. "Where are we going?" Lily panted, tears streaming down her face, her small hand gripping tightly onto Sarah's. There was no answer. The darkness here was thick, a tangible weight that hung heavily above them, threatening to collapse. "Just a little further," Sarah urged, doubt creeping into her mind. The sensation of eyes watching them from the shadows gnawed at her gut. She pushed Lily forward, urging her not to falter. Finally, they stumbled into a small, hidden courtyard, barely illuminated by the faint glow of a dying moon. It was a shattered world, littered with broken toys and wilted flowers, remnants of joy now swallowed by decay. Was it a sanctuary, or another trap laid out by the shadows? "What now, Mommy?" Lily asked, her voice trembling, echoing Sarah's own uncertainty. "I don't know," Sarah admitted, breathless and vulnerable. But as she took stock of their surroundings, she sensed dormant energy in the air, a connection to something larger than themselves, something that might still hold hope. "Stay close," she whispered, scanning for options. They couldn't linger. The shadows would follow, relentless and hungry. But before she could think of a route, a sudden rustling drew her attention to the corner of the courtyard. Out of the obscurity emerged a silhouette, an older boy with hollow cheeks and eyes deep like pits, cloaked in shadows that seemed to ripple around him. His lips curled into a knowing smile, one that sent a fresh wave of dread coursing through her veins. "Are you lost?" he asked, his voice silky and smooth. "We've all been lost. But I can show you the way. Stay back," Sarah cried, stepping protectively in front of Lily. The boy's gesture was unsettling, his elongated fingers twitching, as if he were summoning the darkness itself. The others were still out there, waiting for their chance. The boy laughed, a soft, haunting sound that reverberated in her bones. "You don't need to be afraid. We just want you to join us." For a heartbeat, Sarah froze, caught in the confusion between survival and surrender. Was there escape, or had she just led her child into a greater nightmare? "Mommy!" Lily tugged at her, fear flickering in her eyes, as she pulled Sarah's attention back from the boy's sinister charm. "We don't want to join you." Sarah spat, every ounce of her being fighting against the allure of surrender. But the moment it left her lips, a chorus of whispers calmed the night. The shadows coiled tighter, stretching their grips, clutching to the very edges of her thoughts. Then came a realization, a sickening truth. It wasn't just about escape anymore. It was about fighting against the very nature of despair. "Let us go, Lily," she yelled, determination carving a path in her heart. But before they could make any move, The boy's laughter rose, echoing through the courtyard as figures emerged from the shadows, their silhouettes merging into a writhing mass behind him. In a single breath, a sense of dread washed over her when a flicker of memory came back, a whisper of the fair, of laughter, and of those chilling costumes. Who are you? Sarah's breath nearly failed her, as horror bubbled in her chest. His smile widened. The true spirits of the night. As the shadows thickened, she gripped Lily tighter. The path of resistance was clear now, but could they confront the truth before the walls of darkness swallowed them whole? Everything was shifting, spiraling, dragging her into the abyss where hope twisted into nightmare. And in that moment of crisis, one question burned fiercely: what price would they pay to escape the true grip of the shadows? The courtyard felt like a cage, the walls of darkness pressing in, squeezing the air from Sarah's lungs. The boy's laughter echoed more intensely, filled with an ancient joy, as if he thrived on their fear. Around them, the figures emerged, cloaked in shadows, eyes glittering like black stones in the night. They circled, their whispers mingling with the rustling of leaves, creating a haunting melody that spoke of despair. "Mommy, I'm scared," Lily whispered, her voice barely above a breath. Sarah's grip tightened around her daughter's tiny hand, anchoring herself to the very thing that mattered most. "Stay close, we'll find a way out. Just trust me," she said, forcing her voice to remain steady despite the tempest of panic threatening to consume her. The boy stepped forward, unhurried, with an unsettling calmness that made Sarah's heartbeat quicken. "You really think you can escape?" he taunted, moving like a wisp of smoke. "You're already lost. You just don't know it yet. Get away from us," Sarah shouted, the defiance in her voice ringing out strong. It was a thin veneer, but it fueled her resolve. Behind him, the shadows pulsated, writhing like a living thing, eager to ensnare them. "Lost is where we thrive," he continued, each word dripping with a sweetness that turned to poison. "The night is endless here, sweet lady. Children like her, they make the best companions." "No!" Sarah screamed, pulling Lily closer. A sudden surge of strength coursed through her. The unyielding darkness could not have her, could not take her child. She turned and ran, the far side of the courtyard looming ahead like a weak beacon. Behind them, the laughter cascaded again, a symphony of the damned that fueled her flight. They dashed through the courtyard, weaving through the remnants of twisted toys and dry petals, but the shadows flexed ever closer. With each step, Sarah felt the ground shift beneath her, as if the earth itself was conspiring with the figures behind them. She stumbled, catching herself against the rough stone wall. Lily pulled on her arm, eyes wide with desperation. "Mommy, where do we go?" "Anywhere but here," Sarah shouted, urgency pushing her words out. In a split-second decision, she turned right, leading them deeper into the courtyard. The night gave way to more darkness, but she sensed a power in the air, a pulse, like a heartbeat, beckoning her onward. "Join us," the boy called out again, his voice slicing through the night air, sharper than glass. "It's not too late to join the others." "They're lying," Sarah yelled, dragging Lily along. "They feed off fear, sweetie. We have to keep going." Just then, she spotted something glimmering faintly deeper within the enclosure, a worn iron gate, slightly ajar. Hope ignited her heart as they dashed toward it, but just as they reached for the handle, the figures lunged forward. Shadows crowded her vision, moving in a wave that seemed to scream of impending doom. "No!" Sarah cried, swinging open the gate with all her might. It screeched in protest, like a living thing. She pulled Lily through, the cold grip of the darkness clawing at her heels. They stumbled into a narrow escape path, the gate slamming shut behind them with a thunderous crash. But as they stood, gasping for breath, the myriad of whisperings faded just enough to let Sarah hear that they were not alone. A flickering light appeared at the end of the path. The feeling of hope bubbled in her chest, but flickered as quickly as it came. The shadows shifted, reforming into human shapes. Sarah could feel every ounce of rage and despair she carried surge within her. "Who comes to wander the night?" a voice echoed, chillingly familiar. She turned slowly, dread pooling in her stomach, and realized the lights were not illuminating an escape, but leading them further into the nightmare. "Show yourselves," she shouted, scrutinizing the silhouettes. "We're not afraid." But the faces that emerged were those of children, pale and distorted, eyes hollow like the boy's, searching and needy. They stepped closer, a wave of lost souls, their mouths turning up in forced, crooked grins. The night did not end here, it only began anew. "Play with us," they chimed in unison, their voices a melodic death knell. Would Sarah and Lily finally be the ones to break the cycle? Or would they be swallowed whole by the siren call of the abandoned and forsaken spirits? As the children advanced, Sarah's heart raced. She had to find the truth behind the darkness, but time was running out, and the shadows were closing in. A decision loomed heavy before her, one that could seal their fates. What sacrifice would they have to endure to reclaim their lives? Just then, a chilling laughter erupted from inside the shadows, a sound all too familiar. Realization hit like a dagger. What if the price of survival was steeped in the very essence of what she feared most? Could Sarah confront the darkness that resided not just in the alleyways, but within her own heart? Lily clutched Sarah's hand tighter, her small knuckles white as the ghostly figures of the children surrounded them. They were a macabre chorus, voices rising and falling like the tide, urging them with twisted enthusiasm. "Play with us! Join us forever!" Panic surged through Sarah. The laughter, once a distant echo, now suffocated her. She had to push back, had to find a way out. "No!" she shouted, her voice a rough edge drowning in the chaos. "We're not playing. We just want to leave." The children paused, tilted their heads, their hollow eyes blinking slowly, as if considering her words. For a moment, hope sparked a tiny flicker glimmering through the darkness. But then the shadows rippled, drawing closer, their laughter melding into a haunting symphony of despair. "Mommy, I don't like this," Lily whimpered, her voice trembling. Sarah's heart ached at the fear in her daughter's eyes. "Stay with me, Lily. We're going to be okay." But with every beat, doubt gnawed at her. How could she be sure? The figures lunged, their sudden movement sending a frigid wave of dread crashing over Sarah. She spun on her heel, scanning the path behind them. A dead end lay there, solid stone walls looming as if mocking her. The only way forward was into the circle of children, or back into the suffocating embrace of the shadows. "Who will play hide and seek?" a whispered voice cooed, soft yet dripping with malice. "Not us," Sarah snapped, desperation coating her words. "We want to play. What is the matter?" The boy, their twisted ringleader, stepped forward, his presence consuming the space around him. "Don't you love games? Why are you so afraid?" In that moment, Sarah glimpsed into the abyss. These were not mere shadows. They were lost spirits, trapped forever by fears just like hers. With a flicker of insight, she realized that confronting her own darkness might be the key to breaking their hold. Her mind raced. Memories of her past surged, like a tide, dark moments she tried to bury deep. The loss, the grief, the guilt. Each thought reminded her of the pain she sought to escape. But perhaps, just perhaps, facing them could arm her with the strength she needed. "Let me go!" she shouted defiantly. "Let us go!" But the children only smiled wider, showing rows of two white teeth that glinted in the shadows. "Once you join us, you'll never fear again." The ringleader reached out, fingers stretching like spider legs, brushing against her cheek. "You too can find peace." "Never," Sarah roared, yanking Lily closer. Time was slipping, and she could feel the encroaching darkness press like a vice around them. "What will you sacrifice?" The boy's voice sunk deeper, laced with intoxicating temptation. He cocked his head as if pondering. A memory? A piece of your heart? Sarah staggered. Could she? What if that was what it took? But then, in that split second of grappling, the children surged forward. Fear flooded her senses, a cold, petrifying wave seeping into her bones. The iron gate would not hold forever. With no other choice, Sarah forced herself to face them, eyes blazing with determination. "I'll take your game," she shouted, shaking but steadfast. "If you promise to let us go afterward." Lily gasped, her grip faltering, eyes wide. "Mommy, no!" "Yes!" The boy's laughter broke like glass, triumphant. "Finally, you understand." As they advanced, encircling them with sinister excitement, Sarah felt her resolve falter, her heart racing. Could she truly confront her deepest fears? Then, all at once, the light flickered behind them. A distant flicker that felt like hope. But the shadows surged forward, and the children lunged. "Come play!" they shrieked, a chorus rising with thrilling authority. The air crackled with tension as the darkness closed in, a decision hanging delicately on the edge of that moment. Would Sarah's bargain unleash a new nightmare? Or would it be the key to freeing her and Lily? As the first shadow reached out, clawed hands stretching, Sarah braced herself for the unknown, a descent into the very heart of her agony. What price would they truly have to pay? As the shadows lunged, darkness swirled around Sarah and Lily like a whirlpool, the cold seeping into their bones. Time twisted, seconds stretching into eternity. Sarah's heart raced, the echo of her pulse drumming in her ears. "Face your fears," she murmured, the words slipping past her lips as if the shadows themselves carried them. The spectral children hesitated, a momentary fracture in their eager advance. She took a step forward, drawing strength from a long-buried memory, her mother, standing tall in the face of storms. Sarah thought of love and loss, the aching vacuum that grief had created in her life. It fueled her. "I am stronger than you," she cried out, challenging the specters that surrounded them. The ringleader's smile faltered, confusion flickering across his twisted visage. "You think such feelings can save you?" he mocked, yet there was uncertainty in his voice. "Feelings connect us," Sarah shouted, her voice rising above the cacophony. "You're lost because you gave in to fear, but I won tea." The others halted, eyes narrowing, their joy dimming as they exchanged glances. For the first time, they appeared uncertain, the laughter fading into an eerie silence that hung heavy in the air. "Play a different game," she said, seizing the moment. "Instead of seeking fear, let us seek the truth behind our pain." She thought desperately of Lily, her innocent eyes reflecting the terror surrounding them. "I won't sacrifice anything for you." The children recoiled, their forms wavering like smoke, their playful demeanor shifting into annoyance. The ringleader's eyes blazed, anger flaring dangerously. "You think you can defy us? You think you can depart without sacrifice?" He stepped closer, the temperature dropping further as shadows thickened around them. "I want to be a pawn," Sarah fired back, her voice now a fierce storm. "I'd rather succumb to my pain than join you in your endless night." At that, an unexpected sound erupted from the group, a chorus of whispers swirling around them, almost inquisitive, each ghostly child processing her defiance. Lily squeezed Sarah's hand tighter, her small voice barely a whisper. "Mommy, I'm scared I'm here," Sarah assured, her resolve spinning into a protective shield around her daughter. "We'll be okay, Lily. What do you want?" The ringleader's voice cracked, the malice ebbing just slightly. "What truth do you seek?" For a moment, Sarah's heart fluttered, a glimpse of power igniting within her. "Freedom," she shouted, her voice reverberating through the darkness. "If I have to confront every fear, every sorrow, then that's what I'll do. I'll face them head on, and I'll break this cycle." The words hung in the air, charged with an energy that felt electric. For a heartbeat, the shadows shivered, retreating slightly, as if her declaration had shifted the very fabric of the space around them. The laughter faded, replaced by a whispering wind that curled through the shadows, stirring the lost spirits from their lethargy. But just as relief began to seep in, the ringleader snarled, "You think your defiance has power? You are too late. You've already accepted the game." Sarah felt it a sudden weight, an invisible chain binding tight around her. Memories emerged without warning, years of isolation, pain, fear, each one tied to a figure in her life long gone. They rose like specters, mirroring the tormented faces in front of her. Her heartbeat thundered in her chest, panic clawing at her throat. "What if you're wrong?" the boy hissed, shadows pooling thicker at his feet, tendrils stretching toward her. "What will you do when confronted by the truth of your choices?" Fire ignited in Sarah's spirit. She had to uncover the truth hidden beneath endless pain or succumb to be lost among them. With a sudden clarity, she gripped Lilia's hand tighter. "Fight! We fight together." The shadows flickered, the children's expressions morphing into shock. They hesitated, their holds lingering just a breath longer than before. Then, the ringleader lunged with a scream. "You'll pay in ways you never imagined." Suddenly, the world tilted, a blinding flash illuminating the shadowy realm around them. Sarah and Lily fell back against the stone wall as darkness engulfed everything, whispering a chilling promise that echoed in every heartbeat. The game has only just begun. What horrors awaited them in the depths of their fears? Would she find courage to confront the past, or would desperation drive them deeper into the abyss? The shadows lunged, and the world spun into chaos. But amid the swirling darkness, a flicker of resolve ignited within Sarah. She couldn't let fear consume her, not when Lily was beside her. As the whispers grew louder, a haunting dirge of lost souls beckoning her into despair, she drew upon every memory of her love, every memory of light. "We will not be taken," she screamed, her voice cutting through the murmurings. Lily clutched onto her mother's hand, fear plastered across her small face. "Mommy, I'm scared," she cried, her voice barely rising above the wailing shadows. Sarah pressed closer to her daughter. "I know, sweetie. But we're stronger together. We won't let the darkness win." Suddenly, the laughter of the ringleader echoed menacingly around them, piercing the air like ice. "You think you can defy us? You're already part of the game." The ground trembled beneath them, shadows swirling like a tempest, flinging doubt and despair into the very fiber of their being. But something shifted inside Sarah. She could feel the energy of the darkness weighing down on her, but here, in this moment, was an undeniable truth. "Our hearts are not yours to take," she proclaimed, standing tall in the midst of swirling sorrows. "We choose to remember joy instead of grief." The shadowy children hesitated, the influence of Sarah's shout staggering them momentarily. Faces once twisted in malice faltered, their forms flickering like candle flames caught in a gust. "You cannot escape your fate," the boy screeched, but doubt twinged in his eyes, a crack forming in their malevolent hold. "Maybe we can," Sarah challenged, taking a determined step forward. "Maybe it's time to see you for what you are, fragments of fears we must face." With those words, the shadows recoiled, driven back as if exposed to light. "Mommy!" Lily shouted, her small voice filled with newfound strength. "Let us show them our love." And Sarah felt it, the rush of memories, the warmth of laughter before loss, the strength born from embracing vulnerability. "Yes! Together!" she cried, channeling that love into a shield around them. The shadows writhed around them, pulsating with menace, but helpless against the onslaught of joy and determination sent forth from their hearts. "We won't let you take our spirit," Sarah yelled, each word a strike against the darkness. The pulsating mass of shadows faltered more, transforming before her eyes into wisps of sorrow that danced like mist under a rising sun. They faded further as Sarah held on to the love she had for Lily, the love that anchored her. "You don't own us." In a climactic burst, the air crackled as they pushed forward, forcing back the encroaching darkness. A radiant light surged from Sarah, weaving through the shadows like a beacon, illuminating the alley and chasing away the sorrow. The boy's face twisted in rage as the light grew, the grip of terror breaking apart, the whispers dissipating into soft sighs of defeat. "No! No! You can't!" he screamed, but Sarah's anger and love blended into a resounding force that shattered the darkness. With a final push, the shadows crumbled back into the walls that they had been bound to, swirling away like smoke in the dawn. The courtyard shone with an ethereal glow as first light broke, banishing the nightmares that had taken shelter there. Lily's hand trembled in Sarah's as soft warmth filled their hearts. "Did we win, Mommy?" she asked, watching the lingering darkness retreat with wide eyes. "We did," Sarah whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks. "We faced our fears together." As dawn spread its golden rays across the horizon, Sarah and Lily stepped into the sunlight, bathed in warmth and release. The laughter of children echoed in the distance, but it sounded different now, joyful, free. Turning back, Sarah glanced at the remnants of the haunted shadows. They were no longer cloaked in terror. They had transformed into faded memories. And with them faded the danger. Sarah knelt, pulling Lily into a fierce embrace. "Let us go home," she said, her heart swelling with relief. As they walked away from the remnants of darkness, she knew she had emerged not just as a mother, but as a warrior. They had fought together and broken the cycle woven by fear. And they would carry this battle with them anew, refusing to lose sight of each other again. The sun poured light over them, brightening even the darkest corners yesterday as shadows no more. Sarah turned to her daughter, the future unfurling before them. "Lily, we'll always stand together, no matter what." As they walked towards their home, laughter danced in the air, a promise of safer tomorrows. "Now, before you go, there is something I need you to do. You need to subscribe now, so you don't miss our next exclusive stories that will leave you on the edge of your seat. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm, it seriously helps. And flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about how this wild ride ended. Last but not least, don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support means everything. Let us keep the adventure going together.